I've played Battlefield for years now, and Battlefield 6 doesn't feel random, but compressed. And compression is what kills skill expression as a whole. The better player still wins, just not by much, and that margin means everything. When mechanical gaps shrink, outplays don't disappear, but they do feel smaller. Skill compression happens when systems artificially reduce performance variance between players. With older titles, mechanical precision created visible separation between players. If you controlled recoil better, tracked better, positioned better, the gap was there and it was wide. In Battlefield 6 though, several systems narrow that gap. Individually, they're subtle, but together they stack up to have a massive impact. First up, time to kill. When the time to kill is fast, reaction windows shrink. When that window shrinks, the number of corrective decisions inside a fight also shrinks with it. And fewer corrective decisions means fewer opportunities for mechanical skill to scale. If fights resolve almost instantly, there's less room for tracking recovery, counter-strafing, recoil correction, the micro adjustments that separate players. That's compression. Take the SVK as an example. 2 shots, high velocity, no limb multipliers. That means even imperfect hits maintain lethal consistency. If the first shot lands, the fight is almost predetermined at that point. That doesn't necessarily make it broken, however, it reduces recovery opportunity for the opposing player, and when that disappears, mechanical separation narrows. Now when it comes to recoil behavior, if it's highly predictable but relatively shallow, that means mastery plateaus quickly. You reach a baseline competence fast, but there's limited headroom above that. You don't get punished heavily for imperfect control, but you also don't get rewarded heavily for near perfect control. That's a compressing of the skill ceiling. When weapons introduce constant sway without a steady aim mechanic, precision scaling is artificially capped at that point. Even if your tracking is perfect, the system is enforcing a variance that's there. At close range, recoil limits separation. At long range, sway limits separation. When both ends are regulated, the middle compresses. We could even see a glimpse of this with the release of the game. Up until Season 2, recoil was input-based, meaning that aiming with your recoil could speed up your sensitivity while aiming against the recoil could actively slow it down. So instead of recoil being something you mechanically controlled, it was interacting with your responsiveness. That reduces mechanical clarity and consistency as a whole. When your raw input isn't stable, mastery can't scale cleanly. Even if that behavior was later adjusted, which it was with Season 2, it still signals something important, which is a preference for smoothing mechanical variance rather than allowing raw control to determine outcomes. And these points aren't even mentioning the secondary balance traits that exist in the game. Damage ranges, ADS speed parity, movement penalties, the bloom, none of those individually ruin the experience, but layered together they can reduce extremes, and reducing extremes reduces separation in the player base. The system trims variance from multiple angles. But this doesn't mean it's an irrational design. Lower mechanical variance does increase accessibility. Accessibility can increase retention. From a design perspective, that makes sense, but accessibility and skill ceiling don't scale together. And that tension is what I think players are feeling as a whole. The issue isn't that good players can't win, it's that outplaying feels less decisive. When fights resolve within a bullet, when window recoveries disappear, and when mastery is capped, then the system isn't necessarily removing skill, but it is compressing it, and a compressed system feels flatter. The real question going forward isn't whether Battlefield 6 is broken, it's whether it still allows meaningful mechanical separation, because without that, skill becomes invisible. Anyway, with Season 2 removing one of the systems that created inconsistency, and the team looking at adjusting time to kill, do you believe this signals a shift in their underlying design philosophy moving forward? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below. I'll catch you on the next one. RAMTEID out.